car does 1.8 miles to the gallon. However, even at 90%, these cars sometimes only do as much as 1.5 to the gallon. That's why you need the yellows.
The 16 car, Stefan Johansson, had a problem in the warm-up this morning, and a substantial problem. He's in the backup car. This was the primary.
And lost it in a most unusual position. While he was braking and down changing, they had just changed the fuel mixture. Just listen to the impact. Violent impact. The result of this, incredibly, the car was wrecked. He broke the concrete wall that he hit. What the team had done, they had leaned the engine down, and when Johansson tried to blip the throttle on his down changes, it would not blip. He grabbed a lower gear, dropped his foot off the clutch, locked the rears, and that was the result. He's in the backup car, which to me seems to be reasonably good.
Well, he runs in 7th place, so it's running fairly well. Willie T. Ribbs comes into the pits, and they're going to the front cowling. Apparently it's not handling well. Let's take a look at the track layout here at Vancouver, Derek.
One of the unusual things here, apart from it being incredibly bumpy, as we can see, is the braking zones are also turning zones, particularly down at the hairpin at both ends of the racetrack. There are 2 chicanes. This is one that has now been changed. It was much tighter last year. They've opened it up, made it safer and wider, but the concrete walls are still so unforgiving here.
1.653 miles around, 10 turns. We've had 5 laps of caution thus far, and we anticipate coming back to green flag any time now. Gary Gerald.
Well, we got a quick report on Willie T. Ribbs. They've made adjustments on shocks front and rear, and now he heads out pit road trying to get back where he can catch up with the field without losing a lap. Also, in follow-up to Stefan Johansson, that wheel had not turned on the backup car all weekend. A lot of concerns coming in. Tony Bentonhausen dismissed that, however, as they got set to go racing on the starting grid. Said, look, we ran this car at Mid-Ohio. We're very confident with it. We think Stefan can still be very, very fast in this backup car.
The view from Nigel Mansell in 3rd place as they get ready to come back to green flag.
See Gordon get sideways there under acceleration, but this yellow has really played into Michael Andretti's hands, I think.
Michael sits right on the back end of Robbie Gordon, who has turned the fastest lap in the race thus far at 106.7 miles an hour. Michael's only been able to manage 106.1, but he closes now on the back end of Gordon and really begins to worry him.
Oh, he's all over Gordon. Gordon takes the inside line at the hairpin, at the inside line of the chicane. Look at Michael. Whoa.
Michael tries to get across that curve on the inside. It slows him down a little too much. Mansell down in the back of Michael Andretti now. Mansell looking for room. At the same time, Scott Goodyear closes in.
And there was no room there, and sanity did prevail, because Michael Andretti was trying to force the issue with Gordon, and Gordon will not be forced in situations like that. He was looking to get away with it.
This early in the race, though, it was worth the risk.
Oh, if you get away with it, it's worth the risk. Look at this, they're both sideways.
Both of them come wide as they come back off of the turn onto the pit straight. That shows you how fast they are fighting with one another. Nigel Mansell keeps a little clearer ahead as he comes down the pit straight. I think he knows that there are 2 guys with a lot on their minds up ahead, and maybe he doesn't want to get involved.
Well, Gordon hanging on here. Michael Andretti just driving the wheels off that target Reynard, and Mansell is not in a position to challenge, but he loves to watch. Both the leading cars are in the 106 mile an hour range. Mansell is yet to break out of the 104 mile an hour range.
Here's where Michael tried it earlier. I think he may have learned his lesson that time coming out from under the stadium. Now Michael lays back in position. Jan Beekes, you have an update?
It's happening. There we go, Paul. What turns out is that the reason Michael Andretti is so much more aggressive now is because in the early stages of the race, he had a big vibration. The team now feels that vibration was from rubber pickup. In other words, if you pick up some rubber on the pace laps, it caused a big vibration in the steering wheel itself. But that now is cleared up, and Michael Andretti has a lot more confidence. Paul?
Again, part of the concern, Goodyear tires, as you saw a good replay of that situation. Now they're already overhauling some slower traffic, which could figure into the battle. Goodyear on very soft tires here this weekend. In fact, several of the tire guys saying the softest they've seen in a very long time. Michael is back in contest with Robbie Gordon.
And look at Scott Goodyear, lost 2 positions in those last 2 laps, moved back Fabi and Tracy did manage to claw their way by him, but Michael Andretti has taken the fight all the way to Robbie Gordon. This is good stuff.
Scott Goodyear now trying to get around the slower car of Marco Greco. Traffic always a consideration, but especially when you're on a course that is lined with concrete walls. Marco Greco comes offline. Mario and Villeneuve get together in the corner, and Villeneuve's got some fairly severe damage to the wing.
And unfortunately, he missed the pit in, so he's got to do a full lap all the way around before he can get back to the pit lane. There's the wing, flew off.
Finally, let's go, and it looks like Mario has a further problem as well as Mario begins falling backwards. So one would anticipate the Villeneuve will head into the pits here just any second now, as Rahal and Gugelmin bottle up behind him. Or does he continue with that wing off?
No, I think he'll lose way too much time on the racetrack, so he will probably go and make an early pit stop, take fuel, and take a new front wing.
Well, Mario Andretti has suffered something in that contact as well, because he is falling well behind the pace now. We'll keep an eye on Mario for you. Villeneuve, would he go for a turn in this time? The report from the course now is that Mario has a flat tire. Villeneuve headed off into the pits, and so does Michael. Michael has a problem with the right rear, and he is a long way from the pits. So Michael Andretti, a factor, sitting in second place, now beginning to fall behind, bringing Mansell up into second.
An absolute disaster for Michael Andretti. Not that he got the puncture, but that he got it almost as far from his pits as you can be. He will be very slow. All the cars will fly by him. He has probably just taken himself out of contention.
Parker Johnstone there being very careful as he comes around. Let's go pit side and Gary.
Already the old nose and front wings off the front.
Let's go pit side and Gary.
Already the old nose and front wings off the front end of Jacques Villeneuve's car. The new nose is there. Now Mario Andretti with a badly shredded left rear goes by us to his pits. Parker Johnstone had already pitted. He had a puncture. They're waiting for Michael Andretti to our immediate right. We've got action everywhere down here, Paul. Suddenly unexpected.
Well, Gary, when Michael Andretti comes in, you'll want to take a look at the coach work just ahead of the right rear that is shredded, because as he's been driving back, the tread on this tire has been flopping and doing some damage to the car. Jan Bikas, he's heading for you right now.
Yes, we can see him, Paul, and I'm sure you have the same shot we do. That's about as fast as he can go. He can't even get up to the 80-mile-per-hour limit here in the pits. The crew is not only going to have to change this tire, they're going to have to check for damage on this car where it was rubbing. Yes, we can see Billy Camphausen right there telling the crew that, no, you have to fix this damage, the loose bodywork on the right rear. There, they just tear it off. Well, Michael Andretti, he's out of here, and it looks, Paul, as though from the outside the car's okay.
The view here from Nigel Mansell as that tire started going away. Nigel a little cautious on the approach, wanting to make sure that Michael would keep it under control. So Michael back on the track now, but it's taken him down to 19th position. He was in second, and look, he's just ahead of the leader. So Robbie Gordon leads it with Mansell 2.9 seconds back, followed by Teo Fabi, Paul Tracy, and Scott Goodyear, now with all of the action happening at the front of the field. 20 laps are complete. Back of Michael Andretti, who was second place, of course. Is he holding Robbie Gordon up, giving Nigel this advantage that he is getting now?
Well, certainly he doesn't want to go a full lap down, mindful that full course yellows happen regularly on street circuits, so he will be desperate to stay ahead of Robbie Gordon. Now remember, the roles were reversed with Robbie Gordon and Paul Tracy at Mid-Ohio. Think of the controversy that happened there.
Nigel
Mansell.
Boy, look at this traffic jam as Scott Sharp is being circulated around by Goodyear and Stefan Johansson.
So Goodyear running fifth, Johansson running sixth, beginning to hang on as best they can. That's Al Jr. trying to fend off Fernandez.
So keeping focus on this for just a moment, a bottleneck created by Sharp's presence there. Johansson running in fifth, Jr. was running in sixth, Fernandez seventh.
Now Gordon, remember, is going to have to make his way through the traffic, is where Mansell will try and make up. But Goodyear has his hands full, as we can watch here. with Stefan Johansson. Johansson in the 102-mile-an-hour range, which is off the pace, about 2 miles an hour off the pace of the leaders.
To the pits once again, Jan Beekes.
Talking about Robbie Gordon, Derek Walker said they told him to go to full fuel when he was racing with Michael Andretti. But now that he's working his way through traffic, they told him to lean it down. They're going to be conservative here during this portion of the race. Paul?
Adrian Fernandez on the back end of Al Unser Jr.'s car. Adrian has had some spectacular results recently. Should be very proud of his drive for Gallus Racing. Dale Fabi, third place, with Paul Tracy just behind him.
And right from lap 1, this battle has raged here. Tracy, we thought, was a little bit faster than Fabi earlier. Fabi, who now wants to demonstrate how good he still is because he got his marching orders from Jim Hall, but he tells us he does have a very good offer for next year. He won't tell us who it is.
And it's tough to try and guess who it may be.
Speculation has it that a new team may be formed called Forsyth Racing, and Fabi has been successful with them in the past.
There's the Villeneuve car now back in full form with the new nose on, though the pit stop was very costly to him and dropped him out of the top 20. Bobby Rahal, just ahead of him, runs in 10th place.
Lots of speculation on what Rahal will use as a power plant for next year. There's a press conference next Tuesday.
It's a brand new Honda that's in there for this weekend. In fact, Gary Gerald and I were kidding around with Carl Hogan because Rahal had some very strong runs on Friday. We said, Carl, what are you going to do if all of a sudden he wins with this thing? He just kind of rolled his eyes at us.
It's not beyond the bounds of possibility for Rahal to win on a street circuit. Remember what happened in Toronto? Finishing second in the Honda that he thought he didn't have enough power on. But remember, he prides himself on having this car handling as well, if not better, than any other Lola-powered car on the racetrack.
Jacques Villeneuve, who is in this fight, dropped to 23rd with that long stop that he had in the pits to make the changes to the nose of the car after his contact with Mario Andretti. And remember that both Mario and Villeneuve both back in the action.
Braking and cornering is where Rahal likes to make up the time.
Leader of the race, Robbie Gordon. With Mansell now even closer in pursuit. He dropped into the 2-second range behind Gordon. But then now he's closed into 1.1 seconds, so he's definitely in a closing posture on Robbie Gordon.
And a wealth and a world of experience in this cockpit here compared to Robbie Gordon just up the road. Robbie Gordon is a raw rookie novice compared to the experience that a Nigel Mansell has, particularly on street circuits.
But both men really with much to prove here. Gordon looking for a win. Mansell looking for the first win of the season as the defending PPG champion.
Oh, and Gordon is a raw talent, a star of the future that has yet to win a race. Could this be his day? Remember, Toronto had it in the bag until he got a puncture, and that put him out of contention.
The 3-car of Paul Tracy continues his fight with Teo Fabi for 3rd place.
Here's one of those braking turning situations. Tracy is much better on that turn in, but you can see what happens under acceleration. And Fabi moves to the right and then comes back to the left, and between the concrete canyon, as you mentioned earlier, it is so difficult to squeeze a way past.
Of course, the past couple of weeks we have been watching the dance that occurs between teams at this point in the season. There are so many suggestions as to who will go where, but none of that really confirmed yet. Matter of fact, Emerson Fittipaldi was down in Brazil this past week, and he announced that he expected a long-term commitment with Penske Racing. Penske Racing, of course, they never announce their drivers until after the season is over.